Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sixth episode, I believe. As I forget the
Fifth.
fifth. We'll just leave this in there because you know what? We are
Screw
professionals,
it.
total professionals
Screw
right
it.
here.
Yeah.
But
I mean, who really matters? It's just a number.
yeah, it's just a number. Numbers are just numbers. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. Yeah. Numbers are
anyway, on today's
overrated.
episode of the Drive Podcast, we're going to be talking about the mess that is the Sixers front office with the Jaleel Okafor stuff, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Flyers, maybe, and
Yeah, maybe.
and
We'll
then
see.
we'll go to Phillies spring training since finally baseball season is back. Pitchers and catchers reported
Yes.
just a few days ago. First spring training game is in less than a week now, I think.
Yep. Next Thursday.
And oh, Gustav Nyquist and Evgeny Malkin's hits that we'll get to. We'll get to how bad the NHL
Yeah.
is with
We'll
their player
explain how we're
safety.
talking about them. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay. Yep. So, as Kyle mentioned, we're gonna be starting off with the Sixers. So, um, there were a ton of rumors, obviously, that Joel Okafor was gonna be traded. And then a bunch of people started getting traded. I know Mason Plumlee got dealt. So did Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka went from the Magic to the Raptors, and after that, it was kind of like it kind of settled down. There was a few teams like I know the Pelicans were still in it, and so were the Bulls for Jahlil Okafor, but nothing really ever surfaced. I mean, we still have time till the deadline, so there still is a chance that we could trade him, but right now it's really not looking like and he's gonna be dealt, and I'm not sure why.
yeah, and it's crazy because they literally basically came out and said like, oh, there weren't really actually that many trade offers. It was just us trying to generate the trade offers ourselves. Like we were
Yeah,
basically like just rumoring everything ourselves, saying that yeah, Jalil's being shopped. He's almost gonna get traded, and that wasn't the case at all. And that's one of the main problems I have with all this is the fact that this front office is being so just deviant, I guess, is like the best word to describe it. They're just hiding a lot of stuff from us, and we'll get into that a little bit later with the Ben Simmons stuff and Joel Embiid. But I just can't see the reasoning behind that. Like, it doesn't help Jaleel, it doesn't help the rest of the team because they're thinking that, you know, one of their teammates are going to be gone. They're kind of focusing on that more than they are the games that they're playing. And we look, we've made it clear a bunch of times that we don't like Jaleel on this team, but he has like it on the team. It's different. That's their brother. Like that's the guy that they go out there every night with, and that they train with all the time. It's different for them, and I just think that's a shitty move by the front office to just kind of generate these rumors without having any actual like true basis behind them. Obviously, that they probably were shipping him, but not to that extent where he was like hours away from being traded.
yeah, and even how they sat him for 2 games, like when
Yeah,
they went on the road trip. They left to, I believe it was Orlando for the game, or was it Charlotte? I'm not. It was Charlotte.
yeah,
Okay,
Charlotte.
so it was before the Charlotte game. They said that they were going to be, um, or that Jalil was not going to be going on the road trip with them to close out before the All Star break, and uh, 2 nights later on the 15th, when it kind of was getting surfaced that there wasn't as much trade sort of hype around Joel Okafor throughout the league as the Sixers front office was making it seem. He was with them in Boston, and they ended up losing that game. When, I mean, it doesn't really make. I'm not saying that Joel Okafor made them lose that game, but they won without him in Charlotte, and then they lost with them in Boston. I mean, obviously Boston is miles better than Charlotte, but yeah, like the handling of the situation by the front office. I'm not saying that the situation was handled awfully, but I'm saying it was handled questionably just because of not only the severity of the situation within like the locker room as you mentioned, Kyle, and but also just as a kind of a reputation standpoint. You don't really want your front office having a look of, oh well, we report that our one of our big men is very close to being traded when it's not necessarily the case. So I don't really get why Bryan Colangelo and the rest of the front office were kind of doing and making it seem as though Okafor was on his way out when they weren't really getting as serious offers as they had.
Yeah, I don't know
Been
why
getting.
they needed to like toy with us. Basically, like that's really all it was. You just had the whole like Twitter that night when that got like announced that Jalil's not traveling with the team and that he's staying in Philly and you know again like I said that he was basically like hours away from being traded. You're just toyed with the whole fan base. Twitter that night was insane. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, come on, let's get the news. Like who is he going to? When are we getting back?" Like you toyed with the whole fan base. You toyed with uh, really other teams' fan bases, especially like New Orleans, because they were like, "Oh, well, who are we giving up? Like, who is this guy? Like, what are we getting in him?" And it's just, I, I'm gonna say this under Sam Hinkie, that never happens at all.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah, I saw it was a thing where I saw a tweet where somebody had said that the organization right now, with the way that Colangelo and his front office are running it, was more dysfunctional than the way that Hinkie ran it.
Easily,
Even with Hinkie's clear and blatant tanking, and but
because at least there was a plan to
that's
it. Like
exactly
there was
there's
an
a
end
plan
goal.
to it, and I'm not sure. I don't think he ever came out and said yes. We are purposely tanking. I doubt he came out and said that, Sam Hinkie.
Yeah, I
But
doubt it either. But
you could tell that. But at least he didn't come out and say, okay, we are putting out the best lineup possible. We're not hiding injuries, or we're not making injuries seem uh, like more. We're basically he wasn't coming out and twisting the truth like the way that Colangelo and the front office have been doing.
yeah, and to tie into that, we'll get into the Joel Embiid stuff. So Colangelo and the front office essentially said that Embiid had the right knee contusion, that he was going to sit out for a while, and we all knew that. We were just waiting for him to get back. And then the report comes out that I forget exactly what it was, but he tore like basically a ligament in the knee, uh, and that's why that he was being held out longer. It wasn't because he was just, they were being cautious with him with the contusion. It was the fact that he had torn something. Granted, it's a minor tear, and it's probably not going to be that serious and like long term for Embiid. But it's just not something that you lie about, especially with the guy who is the savior of the damn team. Like you are talking about the most liked player in Philadelphia right now. Like I don't think that there's anyone who can even compare to him at the moment. And
No, I don't.
yeah,
Not that comes to mind now.
and the fact that you're lying about his injury to us when we've already had to wait 2 years for him to get to the NBA and for him to have all this success, it's just it's a coward ass move, and it's not one that again that Sam Hinkie would have made. Hinkie would have had Jahlil Okafor traded by now, or he would have at least had one of the three centers traded by now. I would hope that he would have had the wherewithal to trade Okafor, but he would have had at least one of them dealt by now, especially with the success that Embiid's having. And he wouldn't have held injuries from us like Colangelo's doing. It's like you can criticize Hinkie all you want for the tanking and everything, but again, like I said, there was an end goal to that plan. I don't know what the hell Colangelo's doing.
Yeah, and I just want to read the statement that Colangelo and the rest of the front office. Well, the Sixers Twitter tweeted that it was just Colangelo's statement, but I would imagine that the rest of his front office kind of gave him some tweaks here and there about what to say about it. So, Colangelo said, "We continue to monitor the recovery of Ben's injury." He's talking about Ben Simmons, by the way. "We continue to monitor the recovery of Ben's injury and are employing a conservative and thoughtful approach to his rehabilitative program, basing his return to full basketball activity on the advice and direction of medical professionals. His next CT scan is scheduled for February 23rd, after which our medical team will thoroughly review and evaluate his status moving forward. Ben's long-term health remains our primary concern. Basically, what Bryan Colangelo is saying is that we want Ben Simmons healthy. Well, no shit.
You are preaching to the choir right there. Like, yeah, we all do.
Yeah, and I saw basically if you scroll through the replies and people are just replying basically saying like screw Bryan Colangelo, and they're putting pictures of Sam Hinkie. Like this guy puts a picture of Sam Hinkie, says my GM, bring back Hinkie. We want Sam Hinkie back. Hinkie died for this. Like like Bryan Colangelo has been so non-transparent with Sixers fans that it's really starting to get like not only annoying, but it's starting to get to the point where Sixers fans are like not trusting the front office anymore. Like they're not trusting Colangelo, because when Colangelo originally was originally hired here, we were optimistic about it, and he did a pretty decent job at first, and now with obviously Ben Simmons being injured, Joel Embiid being injured, he's being completely just hidden about everything.
Yeah, and I got into a Twitter argument with someone who, or shouldn't say that. I saw like a Twitter argument that was basically someone defending Colangelo and saying, "Oh, well, he did all these great things in Phoenix and all this shit." I don't give a damn what he did in Phoenix. That was what, over 12 years ago. Who gives a flying fuck what he did in Phoenix? I care about what he's doing right now with this team, because Phoenix was a completely different situation. I don't care about that. That's way in the past. I'm gonna if you're gonna make statements like that about Colangelo's past, I'll bring up Toronto and how he screwed them over for years. So don't even get started with what he did with Phoenix. Second of all, Colangelo, yeah, he got Ilyasova here, and he's made some decent moves to kind of shore up this team, like Gerald Henderson and Sergio Rodriguez, but those guys aren't really doing that much. Like, I don't get me wrong, I like Henderson sometimes. Sometimes he can be a pain in the ass, but he's getting better lately. Sergio's fine. We all know what just type of player he is. He's just not fast enough at this point to really be a legitimate point guard in the NBA. With Irsan, we all know that he just jacks up threes all night long, and that's frustrating when he doesn't score, but it's nice when he does. But those are not the guys that are being the main contributors to this team. Dario, Embiid, even hell Stauskas, McConnell, Covington, those were all Hinkie. So I don't want to hear about how Colangelo was the reason that this team is having success. No, it's Hinkie. Colangelo can take credit for something when he goes out and gets Klay Thompson or Jimmy Butler or drafts Markelle Fultz or whatever. Then you can take credit. Now, right now, screw off. We don't owe you anything. We don't owe you respect. We owe Hinkie respect. He's the one who is the reason that the Sixers are even, that we even mentioned like a playoff spot this year.
Yeah, he's the reason why people on every major news source, sports site, that are saying like trust the process. Like you have all of these people, and it's not even Sixers fans. A lot of them, like I saw, like I was watching Sports Nation, and Marcellus Wiley and Michelle Beadle were like, yeah, like it's like this was back a few weeks ago, like a month ago or so, when the Sixers were like 8-2 in their last 10 or whatever, and they were doing really well, and Embiid was like lighting up the place, and they were like, yeah, like the Sixers are fun, like trust the process, and they're getting like all like excited to just see Sixers basketball back again, and now obviously Embiid since then has gotten injured, and Ben Simmons has surpassed the time in which his injury is supposed to take, and Bryan Colangelo has just pretty much screwed over the fan base by being completely hidden, like I said before, about the entire situation. And it's just really not fair that we had to put up with pretty much 3 years of like just horrid basketball, knowing that in a few years we're gonna be fine, we're going to be good, we're gonna get young players. Obviously we drafted Embiid, drafted Dario, drafted Simmons, and now that Colangelo is here because Hinkie was let go of, he's just, like I keep saying, he's just hiding everything from us. And like Kyle mentioned, we don't owe him respect as of now. He did bring in Ersan Ilyasova, he did bring in Sergio Rodriguez, he did bring in Gerald Henderson, who are all, as of right now, limited role players on the team. But we just don't owe him the same respect that we do Hinkie at this current time. And if he does pull off a Butler trade or an Okafor for like picks or whatever trade, then sure we could respect him. If drafts Markel Fultz, sure we could respect him. But as of right now, with especially with how he's handling these past situations, like we don't owe him much respect right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you show that you deserve respect, then fine, whatever. I'll give you all the praise you want. But right now, who are the guys that are really performing for this team? Who are the guys that are the reason that the Sixers are as performing as, I'm gonna say as well, but they're still obviously not that great of a team. But as well as they're doing right now, it's Embiid, it's Dario, it's Stauskas, it's all those guys that I mentioned before. And that's the thing too. Stauskas has turned himself into one of the better players in the team, and someone I could easily see they keep long term on this team, especially if he keeps his.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, like he's been. Everyone knows that Nick Stauskas is a great 3-point shooter, but he's been really good this year with driving to the basket.
Yeah.
I didn't think he had that in him, but he is.
No, and I remember prior to the season, like when I would be listening to John and Matt's podcast, they would be the Sixer Revolution. They would be like just harping, and they would just be going at Stauskas, and they'd be just kind of I wouldn't say shitting on him, but they would be like we don't want him here much longer if he can't bring more to the table than just shoot threes. And this season he has been very good. Like you said, he can still shoot the three with pretty good consistency. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what he's shooting from three, but I would assume it's a pretty decent percentage.
I'll pull it up.
And okay, and he, like you said, he's been driving a ton. He's been getting a lot of nice assists. Like I could remember at least a solid 24 times where I remember just seeing Stauskas drive and collapsing three guys on him, just kicking it out to TJ McConnell for a drive, or to Embiid down on the block, or to Rocco on the corner, or whatever. And he's been creating a ton this year.
Yeah, and his stats for the year, averaging 9 points per game, which is 0.5 better than last season. He is shooting 40.5% from field goal range, which is really damn high. I did not think he was doing that well from inside the arc, but he is shooting at 37.6% from three, which is at this point a career high.
Very
so
good.
yeah, he has been absolutely great this year compared to what he's been in the past, and it's, you're not going to see it so much on the stat sheet. Like you look at those stats and you're like, oh well, that's pretty good, but it's like watching the games obviously gives you a better realization of what he's bringing, because like you said, a bunch of times this year he's drive the lane, kicked it out to Rocco or whoever that's open for three, or just even for a two. He's been doing that so much more this year, and it's helped the team a lot. And it's like he even played point guards at some points, I think, this year, and he was doing even pretty well in that situation. So he's definitely turned himself into a really like solid bench piece for the future.
Yeah, and another guy that's been playing very well as of late is Dario Saric. I'll just run through his February numbers here real quick. So in February, he's averaging 16 points a game with just 2 turnovers, and his average minutes. So he's averaging 2.3 turnovers in over 28 minutes. Shooting 44% from the field, 31% from three. And yeah, he's averaging 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Dario's been having a pretty solid February, and it kind of dates back to the last week or so of January, where he put up 16 against the Clippers, 17 against the Bucks, 12 against the Rockets, and 17 against the Kings. But yeah, like Dario has been playing really well as of late. He dropped 20 against the Celtics in the loss, 18, 19, and 26 against the against Charlotte, Miami, and Orlando, all wins. 20 against the Spurs, which is obviously very good because the Spurs are a really good team. Went 8 of 11 in that game, 4 or 5 from 3. Pretty much single-handedly kept them in the game for much of it. Especially when he played 21 minutes, or only played 21 minutes. And he's been pretty fun to watch. And I've seen a lot of people saying that if Embiid continues to be sidelined because of his injury, Dario's right up there in the Rookie of the Year conversation.
Yeah, definitely. If Embiid can't come back at all this year, I would definitely, and Dario can obviously keep up his strong play lately. I would definitely be, I would, it would definitely would make a lot of sense for him to be Rookie of the Year because he's carried the load a lot for when Embiid hasn't been out there, and he's progressively gotten better throughout the year. I know beginning of the part of the year, he would not necessarily play like Earson because I don't want to insult him like that, but he would settle for a lot of threes when he could have driven. But lately, I've seen him drive a lot more, and it's paid off for him a lot. And his point totals and his game score too; those are all reflective of that. He's been just lighting it up lately.
And another thing I've been noticing, like if I'm looking at his stats right now, it's his game log, and if you kind of scroll back towards, if you kind of date back towards the beginning of the season, a lot of the games that he was playing in, he was shooting in the 20s, 30s percents. I mean, I'm sure he had games, in the 50s, 40s, but a lot of his games he was shooting in below 40% from the field. And in the past month or so, dating back to the middle of January, there's only been a handful, 1, 2, 3, there's only been about 4 games where he shot below 40%. And that's a really good sign, and it also shows that he's getting a lot better down low because he is a power forward, and he does need to have post moves. And I remember at the beginning of the season, he wasn't getting the ball down low, and when he would, you could just tell his confidence was lacking in that in his post game. And now that he's been getting the ball in the post more and more and more because he's been playing a lot more because of Embiid being out, his confidence is just building and building and building down low, and he's able to make a lot of defenders look not silly, but he's able to manipulate a lot of defenders into kind of just taking him lightly, and he just scores on him. He's been playing really well.
Yeah, and I don't think this really should come as a surprise to anyone because, as is tradition with guys who come over from overseas in any sport, they'll be kind of off to like a slow start, and then they'll gradually start to get better, and they'll get more accustomed to how the game here works. Like for baseball, I think it's different because it's like baseball is relatively the same no matter where you play it. But for like hockey and NBA is a lot different than any of the Turkish leagues or wherever in other countries.
Croatian leagues, yeah.
Yeah. And same thing for NHL. Like it's completely different in terms of like rink size compared to Russia or Sweden or Finland or wherever. It's like NBA and NHL are probably the hardest really to get accustomed to, but it does start slow, but like Dario is showing right now, he's getting more accustomed to the NBA, and it's showing with his point totals and just his overall game.
Yeah, and it's really kind of just pleasantly rewarding as a player of his caliber. I would assume, at least. I mean, I'm not Dario Saric, but just of a player of his caliber, it's just. Oh yeah, well, you see, I used to be, but then I kind of like no, but it's like, I think it must be pleasantly just rewarding for himself to start to gain that confidence and to become accustomed to the pace of the NBA because, as Kyle mentioned, the game is completely different overseas. It's a lot different. There's a lot more. I mean, there's not. I would assume there's not many big guys over there. So he's probably one of the tallest guys. He probably was one of the tallest guys over in the Croatian and whatever other leagues he played in prior to coming over here. So now that he's playing guys that are 4 inches taller than him, because there's guys in the NBA that are like 7'2", 7'3", and now he's playing against these guys. It's obviously it's an eye opener for him, and now that he's building that confidence, it's it has to be just internally rewarding, like a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And confidence is king. You get a player who, even like a horrible player, who gets on a hot streak. All of a sudden, that player thinks that he can knock down every single shot every night. Like, obviously, in the end, skill, like the actual talent of the player will prevail. But for at least a little while, that confidence can just lift a player to new heights. And that's not the case with Dario. He's actually this good. Like, he's going to be that good of a player. But I think for a guy, again, who's coming overseas, who isn't really used to the NBA game, it's huge to just get a streak like this so he can build off of that throughout the rest of the year. And I think, again, like, if he keeps this up, he's definitely a Rookie of the Year candidate by all means, especially with how,
Yes.
I don't want to say weak the rookie class has been, but it's really not that great of a, like,
It
I
hasn't been
really don't
living
know
up to
who
the
he's
hype.
competing with.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype around this rookie class, but I mean, and they've been performing well. I mean, obviously the rookies this year have been performing well, but when you have teams such as the Cavs and the Warriors and the Spurs and the Rockets just playing as well as they have been, it just kind of overshadows the rookie storylines. And so,
Yeah, I mean, like,
but yeah,
Brandon Ingram only has like 8 points per game, and it's
yeah, he's not playing well at all. The rookie class this year was probably a little bit overhyped, and the Sixers have two of the best. So
Yeah.
pretty much, if Embiid comes back and is healthy, I don't see any circumstance in which they don't finish 1-2 in drafting. Talking about Dario and Embiid.
Yeah, definitely not. They should. I think it's definitely going to be either of the two. Like, I don't think anyone else is going to all of a sudden make a run to be top rookie, unless we're just completely forgetting it's someone. But as far as I know, I don't think that it's going to be anyone else besides
Yeah, no.
Embiid or Dario.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. So yeah, so that's been some Sixers talk. So now I guess we could talk a little bit about some Flyer stuff.
So that's enough Flyers talk. Let's move on to Gustav
very
Nyquist.
enjoyable Flyers talk there. Yeah,
Yeah.
very enjoyable Flyers talk right there.
We have so much logic, so much wisdom.
Yeah, it was very intellectual, I must say.
But anyway, Gustav Nyquist. If any of you missed this, just Google Gustav Nyquist or YouTube. Just search it on there. In a game against the Minnesota Wild, Mr. Nyquist decided it was appropriate to take his stick and shove it in Wild's player's face, basically aiming to blind him or worse. And the NHL thought, man, the NHL has been very stout. We care about player safety. We are very concerned about concussions and all this type of stuff. So, the appropriate suspension for Gustav Nyquist for spearing a man in the face, 6 games. 6 games. Yep, that's... We did good.
Really caring about player safety there.
Brilliant. We just... Round of applause for the NHL. Fantastic job.
Yeah, I saw the hit the night that it happened. A bit later, I saw a Twitter video that somebody had made, or if it was like a clip from NHL or whatever. But I when I saw the hit, I was like, this is 20 games, and we were talking about it prior to even recording. That was 20 games, like for sure, a 20-game suspension, and especially with, as of late, how much the NHL has been harping on player safety, and then for this hit to happen and them only give Nyquist 6 games for, especially with how blatant it was. Because
exactly.
right prior to the hit, right prior to the stick to the face of Jared Spurgeon from the Wild, which is who he hit in the face. Spurgeon, I think he might have cross-checked him or just shoved him.
Yeah, he cross-checked him, but...
Yeah, but still, Nyquist, that hit, the spear was just completely unwarranted. I don't care if you're a fan of Nyquist, if you're a fan of the Red Wings, or if you're just like a general NHL fan who likes physicality, that was just like completely uncalled for, completely unwarranted.
If you defend Nyquist after that, I question your, for one, morality, and 2, sanity. Because what the hell... How do you want to defend that? Because here's how it goes. Spurgeon, yeah, he cross-checks him in the back. The appropriate response is not to spear a man in the face. Like, that's not the appropriate response to that. You can cross-check him back or even drop the gloves and fight, but to spear a guy in the face? Are you freaking kidding me? And the intent was so freaking obvious because you could see his face. I'll probably put the GIF or just the clip of it up in the YouTube video. By the way, podcast is on YouTube now, not SoundCloud. YouTube.
Yes, YouTube.
You could see his face, like he gripped his stick like really tight, and then all of a sudden was just like, "I'm aiming for your face. I will end you." And then he just like looks down at him like, "Oh, all right, like whatever. I didn't do anything wrong."
Yeah, it was I remember just like cringing at the sight of it, and like I was talking to it just so happened to be I was talking to one of my friends who is an NHL fan as well. He's a fan of the Flames, and I showed him I DM'd him on Twitter like the link to the tweet of that showed the video, and he was just like he was beyond himself because he's from Canada, so obviously he's like a bigger NHL fan than a lot of us.
By default.
And he knows probably more about the game. Just by default, he's from Canada. He knows more. He's a bigger fan, but and he was just beside himself. And I originally, when I saw the hit, I was very like obviously just like shocked by it that he would do that. But then when they showed the slow-mo, because originally I just watched the full speed hit, and it just looked like he hit him. But then I sent the video, and without watching like the slow-mo that it showed directly after, and then I watched the slow-mo, and then I was like, okay, that was bad.
Yeah, when I saw it in slow motion, I immediately was just like, that's... I wouldn't honestly have been mad if the NHL had just been like, yeah, you don't get to play here anymore. Like, no, sorry, you get to go play in Sweden or whatever. I don't care. Like, that's blatant assault. Like, a few years ago, okay, more than a few years ago, it was like 1999, I think, or something along those lines. Marty McSorley for the Bruins, I believe at the time, yes, slash Donald Brashear, who was on the Canucks at that time, all in the head. Like, he literally just took his stick, slashed him in the head. Brashear hit the ice, and it was really bad. Don't even YouTube it, because it's pretty gross if you're squeamish. Just don't do it. He, his head just slammed, snapped back on the ice, and he was, bleeding out of his nose. It was not a good thing. And obviously, those two aren't... No, actually, they are comparable. And it's the only reason that the NHL, I think, didn't give him the longer suspension was because of the fact that Spurgeon didn't have, an immediate injury because of it. He played later in that game. And that's complete bullshit, because who cares if the player... okay, not who cares if the player got hurt, but the result of it should not be the basis for your suspension. It's the intent. What the hell was Nyquist thinking? Even if you... Somehow the player safety department was oh, well, it's not that bad. You still have to... And you still have to go at it about as, sending a message to the rest of the league. You do this, you are going to be not paid for a while. You are suspended for a very long time. Don't even think about doing this ever again in our league. And they decided, 6 games. That's a slap on the wrist.
And it's if you... And just to compare it to a real life situation, if you have a weapon, if you have a gun, and you attempt to shoot somebody, and you miss, and somebody sees it, and they call the cops come and arrest you, and you're like, well, I didn't hurt him or anything. You're not gonna get off just with it was attempted murder. You're going to get a very long time in prison. And it's the same in this situation, obviously just a lot less severe. Nyquist clearly intentionally speared Spurgeon right in the head. And Spurgeon, like you said, he ended up playing later in the game, but that shouldn't matter in the case of, okay, well, what was he intending to do?
Exactly, and I think Nyquist only got 4-minute penalty in the game. The refs are right freaking there. How do you not give him at least a major penalty and a game misconduct? And the fact that they're just oh yeah, and only 6 games. it would be as if like your best friend just went up to you and like stabbed you in the face, but like it didn't like completely blind you. Like it's like they stabbed your eye, but you didn't go blind, and it's like, oh, it's okay, I forgive you. Like, no, I'm still gonna hate you. Like, what are you talking about? It like the result of it should not matter that much in terms of when you're suspending someone. It's I'm never gonna understand the NHL and their decisions for suspensions, and that's just a prime example of it.
Yeah, and then another situation that happened. It was in the Winnipeg Pittsburgh game. There was a puck tipped right out in front of the Winnipeg net, and Evgeny Malkin was closing in on the puck, and Wheeler is the guy's last name. I'm
Blake Wheeler,
I'm not
yeah.
thinking of his first name. Blake Wheeler, yes. Was also converging on the puck, and Wheeler ended up getting a clear, but then Malkin pretty much he didn't spear him in the head, but he and pretty it looks on purpose. I mean, there's room for debate on whether he purposely hit him in the head, but to me and to a lot of people, and I know to Kyle because we were talking about it before, it looks like he intentionally raised his shoulder and raised his body and lifted up into the head of Blake Wheeler. And the NHL already came out and said that they're not going to discipline Evgeny Malkin, so yeah.
Yeah, big surprise that the NHL is not going to suspend a Penguin. But, yeah, and like Jared said, we were talking about this before we started recording, and the main problem that I have with this is the fact that Malkin makes a clear attempt to go for the head. It's not just he just kind of like skated into him, and that just so happened to be where his shoulder lined up. No, he made a, and again, I'll probably put this in the YouTube video, but he makes a clear like shoulder adjustment. Like he again like grips his stick tough, and then just kind of like adjusts his body so that like he knows he's gonna hit his head. And somehow Blake Wheeler returned to play in that game. I'm gonna.
He even tried to come and rip Evgeny Malkin out of the pile.
I mean,
like,
I would too.
in a
like,
scrum.
Evgeny, what the hell? Well, like,
Yeah.
it's just a bullshit call. I don't. It's definitely not as bad as a Nyquist Spurgeon thing by any means. Like, it's like a 2-game, 3-game suspension at most. I think because it's still not that bad. Obviously, it's you want to eliminate hits to the head, but it's definitely not like a 20-game suspension. But the fact that they didn't even suspend him at all or do anything, like the fact that they just come out and say, "Yeah, we're not going to discipline him." Like, are you kidding me? You complain all the time about hits to the head, but then you don't suspend a hit to the head. Mm-hmm. What is NHL?
Who knows at this point? I mean, it's getting to the point where it's like the NFL. A lot like in similar circumstances, like they preach and preach and preach about player safety, and then when circumstances like this arise, they lowball.
When Darren Sproles gets hits in the head.
Yeah, they lowball the serious cases, and then when you have cases where players are doing non-physical things like off the field things, and they're getting docked like 8-game suspensions.
Poor Josh Gordon.
It's like it's really, it's just we need to start, and I know this is not really our choice at this point. It's the NHL's choice, which is the final say, which kind of sucks, but just how it is. But we really need to start harping more on player safety, which is it's dumb because we've been harping on it for years now. Ever since research has come out saying like with the CTE, obviously like CTE isn't readable until after someone dies, but with how much research is out now with brain damage and hits to the head and what kind of damage that does, the protocol and the suspensions that these leagues, especially like the NHL and the NFL, are putting out are just not close to enough.
Yeah, and it's just discouraging to see because it's in the end you just kind of see it as all talk. Like there's no, they can say all these things, they can say they care about player safety, but when things like this happen and they just again slap on the wrist or not even a slap on the wrist at all, it's really discouraging to see from both leagues that just harp on player safety so much, and they should. That's not like they need to harp on that because, and especially in the
It's
NFL,
important.
because there's just no like logic with tackling. It's just just throw your head at the guy and that's how you tackle. But they need to be consistent and they need to actually do something about it when a player is being reckless and doing something that results in head injuries and uh, other type of dirty plays.
Yeah, it's definitely a predicament right now. But yeah, so talked about Sixers, talked about our Flyers, our 5 seconds of silence, and then we talked about some Nyquist and some Malkin. So now, to wrap it up, our last topic, we're gonna be hitting on some Phillies stuff. Obviously, spring training has begun. Pitchers and catchers reported just a few days ago. First full team workout occurred the day that we are recording this Friday, the 17th. And yeah, so um, obviously, as a lot of us know, just from Twitter and through other sites, obviously, a decent amount of Phillies were selected for the World Baseball Classic, and two notables that are sitting it out are Michael Saunders for Canada and Freddie Galvis for Venezuela. Freddie Galvis was originally slated to be the starting shortstop, but he played a pretty long season of winter ball. I think his season ended up wrapping up just a little over a month ago because his team made it to like the championship game or whatever of their winter league, and I guess he tweaked his groin, I believe it was, or no, was it his groin? Yeah, it was his groin. He tweaked his groin playing, and so he pulled out. And Michael Saunders pulled out. I think just because he wants to be in camp because he's a part of the team now. So, what are you thinking about Saunders and Galvis just kind of pulling out the WBC?
It was encouraging, at least for Galvis. I didn't see too much about the Saunders pulling out, but for Galvis, I know that he said one of the main reasons was he wanted to work on his on base percentage, which is really encouraging to see from Galvis. And it sucks that it cuts into J.P. Crawford's spring training time, but I think that Galvis wanting to work on his on base percentage is really key for many reasons, but mostly just because the whole team, as in general, has struggled with on base percentage, and the Phillies have made that pretty clear that they want to get better with that. Matt Stairs has been very vocal about wanting to cut down on those type of like worthless at bats, and it's just nice to see a guy like. Obviously, again, it sucks for JP because we want to see him have like a full spring training and see what he really has, but you got to make sure that the guys who are definitely going to be on the roster are as ready as can be for opening day, especially in what we both believe, and I think a lot of other people believe too, could definitely be like a wild card contention season for the team. So it's nice to see. It's always nice to see the like players caring a lot about the team and wanting to get in camp as early as possible.
Yeah, and like you're mentioning, like with JP, he's obviously now that Galvis is back, he's not going to be getting as many reps and as much playing time as he would have been had Galvis continued to play with Venezuela for the World Baseball Classic. But I still feel that Pete McCannon and even Matt Klentak in the front office and all the coaching staff, I feel like they know well enough that okay, Freddie Galvis is our short-term plan, but J.P. Crawford is the guy that we believe and we are behind for the long term. So, and I feel that they are just going to play him. Clearly, they're not going to play him as much as they would have had Galvis stayed out. That's just inevitable at this point. You need to play Freddie Galvis, get him ready for opening day. However, J.P. Crawford is still going to get a good amount of reps. I could see just because he is the future at shortstop as of this point, and I just feel like Pete McCannon is old school enough to where he realizes that, and the rest of the coaching staff more than likely realizes that, and Matt Klentak in the front office surely recognizes that because we all know how good of a job, at least personally, and I know Kyle feels the same way, how good of a job Matt Klentak has been doing as the general manager of the Phillies, and I just feel like J.P. Crawford will get enough playing time to where we could see, what he has. Did he improve from last year? Did he kind of reassure his approach towards the game? And I think he will.
Yeah, same. Like I definitely think that while he's not going to get the amount of reps as he would have had if Galvis had gone to the WBC, there's Phillies are still going to make sure that he gets a lot of playing time. Like they know how important this spring is for JP and for really all the young guys. They'll make sure that he gets his reps. Like they're not going to just kind of shelve him and just play Galvis for the most part. But I think that JP coming in, it might even just take a little bit of the pressure off of him, knowing that he doesn't have to maybe not work as hard, but just like doesn't have to stand out as much because Galvis is still going to get a lot of the time at short. So maybe takes a little bit of the pressure off of him, so he can have maybe a better spring than he would have had if Galvis had gone to the WBC. At least that's what I hope. Like we don't know obviously until the games begin, but I definitely think that this could still be a good thing for JP.
Yeah, and another thing I kind of wanted to see what your opinion about it was. So the other day, Pete Mackanin, when he was getting interviewed in Clearwater, he was asked about the closer situation because, as we all know, we signed two relievers this offseason to help out the bullpen, and Pat Neshek and Joaquin Benoit. And we obviously have Jenmar Gomez and Hector Neris. And when Pete Mackanin was asked who the closer would be, he said that as of right now, Jenmar Gomez has earned that role based on his season last year. So I just kind of want to get your take on what you think of Mackanin already saying that Gomez is the closer for right now.
I think it's fair. I mean, we all know how great of a season Genmar had last year. He completely flew under the radar and then just had an amazing first half. And his second half wasn't that bad either. It was just the Phillies were losing more games, so we didn't really get to see him as much as we did in the first half.
It was really just September. But
yeah.
Even the rest of the bullpen was trash in September
exactly.
too.
Like the rest of the season, like after this All-Star break, the season just went downhill, and that's just fact. And when the whole team isn't playing well, just like it's going to be hard to find those individually great pieces. But I think it's definitely fine that Mackanin has come out and said Genmar is the closer right now. It doesn't mean that he has to stick with him the whole season. I mean, it's completely like Genmar has to still earn it. He still has to go out and prove that he's still capable of being the closer. And if he doesn't, then we have guys like Neris who can come in, Dubre Ramos, even Neshek or Benoit. So I'm fine with it for now, and I doubt that Gomez is going to be the closer long term on this team. So I am perfectly fine with Gomez being listed as the closer right now. So what is your take on the topic?
Yeah, I'm similar. I don't mind that he did it, and what I am really happy, I guess you want to say, that he said, or really content with what he said, was that right now he's the closer.
Yeah, that's a
big
thing.
Right now is spring training. Right now is spring training, and we still have a full month, pretty much a month and a week of games to play in spring training. And if Gomez comes out and, I mean, he might not get saves in spring training. He might pitch in the fifth inning. Who knows? Just to get him reps. But if he comes out and he plays or pitches extremely well and gets a few saves here and there, pitches well in other situations, I don't see how Pete Mackanin would have his mind changed. However, if he came out, struggled in any role that he played, if he came out and struggled in the ninth or struggled in the eighth, seventh, any of the setup roles and closer spot, the door opens and Pete can say, okay, Neris step in, Benoit step in, Neshek step in, Ramos step in, any of them at that point could more than likely step in. And so yeah, I just like how Mackanin said right now, and yeah, I don't mind it, especially because Gomez, aside from a few weeks in September, was very good last season.
Yeah, and again, that's like the key thing to remember, the fact that he said right now, it leaves the door open for someone to take his job. And that's how it should be. It's the closer job. There are very few guaranteed like really good closers in baseball. It's hard to find, and it's it's whatever. Gomez, even if he struggles in spring training, I still feel like he's going to be the closer on opening day, just because that's how it usually is. I feel like managers don't really care too much. Not really. I shouldn't say care too much, but they don't uh, take it into as much consideration how well they do in spring training. They just kind of look at how they actually perform in the closer role in the regular season. Because spring training is such a weird time for everyone, especially relievers, because no one's really pitching in the inning that they're gonna be performing in the regular season. So I still think Gomez starts his regular season as the closer, no matter how he performs in spring training, and then McKinnon just kind of takes it from there. If he struggles at first, then you might see, again, like any one of those guys, Ramos, Benoit, Nishek, go into the closer's role, and then if he performs well, then he'll just stay in there, and the rest of the guys will just stay in the role that they're assigned in right now.
Hmm. Yeah, and to kind of finish off on the Phils, I just want to get some of your spring training standouts, maybe some predictions for spring training.
Okay, so the big one that I have, and this might come as a shock to some, but I feel like they're definitely capable of doing it. The Phillies will be the top team in the Grapefruit League come the end of spring training.
Okay, okay, that is a pretty big one. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more of like an individual performance, but yeah, that is a pretty big one. I was not expecting that.
I might have some individual ones too. We'll see.
Okay, yeah. So, one of my individuals is that Michael Franco will hit 10 home runs in the Grapefruit League, which I'm not going out on a huge limb saying that. Is he could definitely do it, but I just feel as though, with how he performed, especially toward the end of last season, with how he struggled, aside from maybe a few weeks here and there, he had some hot stretches. But aside from those few weeks, he performed pretty poorly after the All-Star break, and he wasn't that great before it either, but he was a little bit better before it. But I feel like coming into the spring, 10 home runs. If he hits 10 home runs in spring training in just a little bit more than a month of games, I feel like that's going to boost his confidence a ton, and I feel like he is going to do that.
I'm gonna say, I think that's actually like a fairly reasonable thing for Franco. Like spring training is obviously kind of weird because you don't get full games out of players, but yeah, Franco definitely should be able to come. I think he's going to come in with like a lot like higher expectations for himself, and I think he's gonna like 'cause he knows that he didn't perform as well as we all wanted him to last year. His end numbers were solid. Like when you just look at the end numbers of the year, it wasn't like a horrible year, but we all expected him to hit for a better average, him to have more, just like an overall better game than what he put out last year. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a big spring again for him. And another guy I think is kind of like maybe going under the radar just because of how many young guys we have at this position. I think Cam Rupp's going to lead the Phillies in home runs in spring training.
Okay, I like Cam personally. I'm a Cam supporter, and I'm a Cam believer personally, and I really do think that he will eventually kind of all right. So I see a lot of skeptics about Cam Rupp and and they say, oh well, he's not going to be able to maintain his surge or whatever, and he's not going to be able to maintain that consistency that he showed last year for most of the season at least. Slumped a little bit in the second half, but that was a lot of the team. Personally, I think that in the long run, Cam Rupp's going to be a solid catcher. He's not going to be a starter. That's what Jorge Alfaro is going to be. So, I like Cam this spring, especially in Florida. It's going to be warm. Balls are going to be probably flying out of parks, especially when they're not major league size. Most of them, at least, aren't major league sizes. I know there are a few that are pretty much like short major league ballparks, but
There's that weird like Boston one where they have like the mini green monster.
yeah, that one is pretty cool. I like that one, but I think they even make that one like shorter than the
Yeah.
actual like actual Fenway. So Um, but yeah, that I do like that. I like Cam, this spring, and another guy, to kind of wrap up my individual because I only did two this time. Um, I really really am looking at Aaron Altair to have a good spring because we saw him last year when he came back from obviously that injury in July or whenever he came back. And he, for the first week or so, he performed pretty well. He obviously went on a downslope toward the end of the year. He ended up hitting, I think, just around 200 on the season, which was about half a season. And if you count his platooning with other outfielders, he really only played maybe a third of a season, maybe a little bit more. But I'm really looking for him to have a big spring just to boost his confidence level back up too, because there's a lot of skeptics after that injury, and I feel that he wasn't really that healthy. I wouldn't necessarily say they rushed him back from injury, um, but with our horrid outfield situation last year, I mean we had Cedric Hunter on our opening day roster for God's sakes,
Oh my
and
god,
so
that was
I
nasty.
really just feel like he's going to have a good spring, and I won't really put a number out there of what he's gonna hit or how many home runs he's gonna hit, but I'm really looking at him to have a good spring.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. Like after last year, again, like you said, there were a lot of people doubting him, and I get where they're coming from because 2016 was really really bad for Altair. He hit 197 actually, and 4 home runs, 22 RBIs. He put up the same like home run. Actually, hit one more home run last year. I mean, at 2015, excuse me, and drove in the same amount of runs in only 39 games compared to the 57 in 2016. But again, I doubt that he was probably fully healthy because I feel like he's just a much better player than that. I don't think he's a superstar caliber player, but I don't think a lot of people believe that. But I think, yeah, he's going to have a really good spring and kind of prove that, hey, I still have a place on this team and that he's going to make things difficult for McKinnon to kind of figure out the outfield because that's going to be a really interesting, basically, battle during spring training with Saunders and Altair in right field, and then Howie, of course, being in the mix in left field. It's going to be interesting to watch those two battle it out. I mean, Altair probably is going to make the opening day roster. I can't see a scenario in which he doesn't unless he gets hurt again, which hopefully that doesn't happen again because this guy's worked way too hard to have that
Way
happen.
too hard, yeah. Yeah, like I see him probably starting the season. He's going to be, if he is on the opening day roster, which he more than likely will be. I see him starting on the bench. Him and Chris Coglin will probably end up being our two bench outfielders. And so, yeah, I really do think that he will. I mean, and like you said, he's not going to be a superstar more than likely unless something gets into him and some sort of just superstar ability just grows into him. But I really like the way he plays just by watching him. I mean, if you look at the guy, he's big. He's a big guy. He could hit the ball. He could run. And what more could you ask for in a baseball player?
He has all the
And
looks of a great player.
he's a good fielder. He just needs that confidence back, really.
Exactly. Like if you when you look at him, you think, how is he not a superstar? Because he's built like a tank. He's like 6'6". Like you would assume that he'd be a great player, but it just hasn't worked out for him yet in terms of just really luck. Like he just hasn't gotten a lot of good breaks, but hopefully this season can turn that around for him and he can get back to probably like I would hope he was better than what he was in 2015, but that kind of level where he can maintain a spot on the major league roster.
Yeah, and personally, I think he's gonna stick around for a while. I mean, I remember last year, after Altair had, I'm pretty sure it was either in his first or second game back when Wendell was in his first game back when he went, I think it was like 3 for 4 or something like that with a home run and a double, and then I think the second game back he ended up going like 2 for 4 or something like that, and I think he had another double or like a single and a ribby or something. But personally, I could see him on this team moving forward, and especially because Dylan Cousins and Nick Williams both had down year. Well, okay. Why am I saying Dylan Cousins had a down year?
I was gonna say like, wait, what?
Dylan Cousins is really going to be tested this season in AAA, I feel, and Nick Williams will be as well. Nick Williams had a down year last year, obviously, and so both of those guys are going to be tested in AAA again, just to see if they are major league ready. Obviously, Nick Williams probably a little bit more because this is his second year there. So yeah, and if Altair has already proved that he can be a competent major leaguer. He just has to show that confidence and consistency to just stick around.
Yeah, and I think he will. I really don't. I'm not too worried about Altair's ability or his ability to have a really good spring training. It's all just a matter of can he get lucky and can he keep that confidence up, and just kind of assure himself a spot on the opening day roster and spot on the roster long term.
Yeah, he could definitely do it. I don't see how he wouldn't be able to, especially with his stature, his skill, his.
Yeah, he's got all the tools
ability.
to be a really good player for the team.
Mm. Yeah, so as long as Kyle, you don't have anything else to say, I've wrapped up my notes.
I do actually want to mention what Matt Stara said. I kind of touched on this earlier, but his quotes, and if you haven't checked it, just go on Phillies.com and just look for the Matt Stairs article. It's basically just the interview with him about his approach as Phillies' new hitting coach. And I have 3 quotes here that I really like. The first one is you cut down on giving at bats away. Again, so huge for that on base percentage thing that the Phillies want to work on. Like the Phillies are really being really touching a lot on improving the on base percentage for the whole team. That's definitely going to help with that. The Stairs' approach, and he followed that up with so be a stubborn hitter. Stubborn hitter essentially just don't settle for anything. Wait for your pitch. And a guy like Franco had a lot of trouble with that last year. And even Odubel in the second half of the year had a lot of trouble with that. He started out the year. That was one of the main things we talked about in the beginning half was Odubel being so patient and just fouling off every single pitch, basically making it look like Chase Utley out there drawing 10 pitch at bats almost every time he went up. So definitely being a stubborn hitter I think is a great approach, and I really like that from Stairs. And the third quote that I have is the biggest thing I'm teaching them right now is hitting from left center to right center and how to use the top hand when you hit. I think when they start realizing less body, more hands, that's when the exit velocity jumps. And the reporter basically asked him how can they improve on exit velocity, because that was one of the main things with again a guy like Franco who had a relatively low one. It was 90.1 I think was his average or whatever last year. So, and I just like that approach with less body and more hands, because that's really what it does come down to. When we saw this a lot with Howard in his prime, and one of the main concerns with him, the fact that he would kind of use up so much of his body when he swung. He wouldn't be short and compact like Chase would be. That was always a big concern with Ryan. So I think that approach is going to help out the team so much when it comes to just hitting more line drives and not just grounding grounders to short, third, whatever. Just getting more clear-cut base hits.
Yeah, I really like Stairs as a hitting coach. Obviously last season, personally, in my opinion, out of the 3 quote unquote analysts or analysts that we have,
yeah,
in him, Ben Davis, and Mike Schmidt, he was the best by miles. Obviously Mike Schmidt was only there on home weekends, but yeah, Ben Davis was. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna. Okay, well, thank God for John Kruk. Thank God John Kruk is here.
I'm so happy for him. I'm so Phillies games are actually made to be listenable to now.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's flipped. Last year, Ben Davis had some more than Stairs, but now I think Kruk has more than Davis. So that's pretty good. Anyway, but I remember just listening when I would watch games last year. You would just hear Stairs harp on all these hitting just improvements that the lineup could make, and he's been doing it that literally what he said last year. I saw Matt Winkelman was tweeting just a few days ago that he was, because prior to each season he kind of just watches last season's games, and that's how he kind of bases his upcoming season prediction, whatever, coming for his page or whatever. So, and he was tweeting that like in the first inning or two, Stairs made like 4 hitting remarks and 4 hitting suggestion improvements, and it's just really good to see him actually putting in the work with the guys and giving them words of wisdom. Obviously, they all know how to hit. They're major leaguers. They just need that few tweaking.
Like
they just need a little
fine-tuning,
tweaking
basically.
to their. Exactly. They just need a little fine tuning to their mechanics and to their approach, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the questions, like when he mentioned the exit velocity, they were talking about like using Statcast and like all these advanced stats, and it was really encouraging to see Stairs like actually like be a fan of it. Like he wasn't just dismissing it like, oh, I don't really care about that stuff, like another Philadelphia coach has done, Dave Hackstall. But yeah, it was really encouraging because they asked him about like guys like Roman Quinn and Cesar Hernandez, and about like, oh, are you telling them like just hit ground balls so they can like beat him out? And Stairs is just so against that, and I love that. Like he's such a big fan of like, no, get line drives. Line drives are the way to go. Hit the ball as hard as you can at these guys. Like drive it past them. Don't try to beat it out because you're essentially just giving up an at bat, and that again goes down to you want to cut down on giving at bats away, like he said. So I think he should be a definite upgrade at hitting coach, and I think he should be really good for he's going to be a really good guy for the young guys on this team as we have so many of them.
Yeah, and like you said, like you just said there at the end, he's going to be like that role model to the younger guys, because we all know what Matt Stairs did in the playoffs, right? We all know that home run. We all know it. And so he could tell these guys about that experience and say like, if you want to have some like an experience such as this, you need to work on not just your power and your power stroke or whatever. You need to become more plate disciplined. You need to be stubborn at the plate. You need to drive the ball and not just rely on your legs to beat out hits. And that is what young hitters need to hear. And it's really comforting, and like you said, it's a big upgrade at hitting coach, I think, and like you said, you think as well. And so yeah, I really like the hire, and I think he's gonna do a great job.
I can just imagine Stairs like going up to the young guys on the team and being like, "If you want to be a Phillies legend like I am, do this." And
that would be that.
But Matt, you play
is,
20 games for the team. I don't care who hit that home run. Who hit that home run in LA? Right. Yeah. Shut up. Like you listen to me now.
That would be amazing. Like if like tapes came out like during like from spring training or during something in like the locker room or something, and he was just like in their faces like yelling, or like even during the season like in their faces yelling like, who hit that LA home run? Like that would be amazing.
Just that's gonna be amazing if we actually can get that. He just goes every single criticism he gets, he's just like, you know what? Who hit the home run? You want to take that back? Fine. Say that exactly. That's what I thought, guys. I am the main reason we won the World Series. But Matt, wasn't there Cole? I don't care about Cole. God damn it! I hit the home run.
Yeah, and like Brad Lidge, like he went like 50
cares?
for 50 this like that year, and it was just like, yeah, who cares, bro? Like I hit a home run to like send us through. Like,
please can that happen? Someone get us like tapes from spring training just of Matt Stairs talking to people, because I really hope he says that.
Even if you have to just like cut up a bunch of different of his audio clips and make him say that, like that would be amazing.
Like the Trump sings videos on YouTube that are absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Those ones are pretty good.
I just listened to the one where he sings the Ed Sheeran song, and I'm just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever listened to.
Oh yeah, some of those are funny. So are the Trump Draw. I don't know if you've seen the Trump Draws Twitter account. It's pretty funny too.
Oh yeah, those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a great time to be alive on Twitter.
Before we get political, we'd like to thank you guys for listening to the 5th episode, Kyle. It's the 5th one.
I'm sorry.
The 5th episode of the Drive podcast. My name is Jared, This has been Kyle Fry, and we'll see you guys in the 6th episode next week.
No, it's the 7th, Jared. 7th.
Oh, is it the 7th?
Yeah, it's 7th.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right.
Bye, guys.
See you later.